Hey, Math Moment Makers. It's Kyle here from MakeMathMoments.com, and I'm really excited here to be spending some time with you to chat about a bit of a gatekeeper concept. And I want to take this gatekeeper concept, I want to introduce it to you, and I also want to share how we can start approaching this concept so that it's relatable to students, so that it's contextual, it's visual, it's concrete, and most importantly, students understand it so that they can build fluency and flexibility. Which concept is it? Well, you'll see on the flip side of our little intro video here. Let's go. All right, for some of you, you may already know the concept I'm talking about. Those of you listening to the podcast with us each and every week, I talk about this concept a lot, and it's the idea of proportional relationships. And in particular, the idea of ratios and rates and other concepts related to proportional reasoning that really hinder students' ability to continue along and feel as though they are mathematically competent, that they're a math person. And the reality is that everyone is a math person. It's just sometimes we have a hard time helping them to see that when they're constantly struggling and having difficulty. So I call this a gatekeeper concept because if students don't understand, today we're going to be talking about ratios in particular, but the concepts of multiplicative thinking and working towards proportional reasoning, this is something that really limits them from being able to extend their math learning into higher levels of mathematics. And as we know, if students aren't able to achieve at high levels or higher levels of mathematics, that can also limit the different opportunities that they have in the future for job prospects and just future advancement. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be diving in, and rather than oversimplifying the idea of a ratio, in this case, too, we're going to be talking about a composed unit ratio. You'll see in this short little classroom sneak peek. We're going to use a problem-based unit. Happens to be one from our Make Math Moments site. So if you head over to makemathmoments.com/tasks, you can find this, the planting flowers unit, and you'll be able to dig into this concept here. And it's actually the beginning of the problem-based lesson on this day of the unit. We had already done a math talk, and then we sort of worked our way into this particular problem-based lesson. So in just a moment, we're going to flip over to that classroom. You're going to get a chance to see what that looks like and sounds like, and why it's so important that we help students understand and see and really experience the behaviors of composed unit ratios through a concept they already understand, which is division. And in this case, you'll see it's partitive division. All right. If you haven't yet, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and hit that notification bell if you'd like to know when these videos each week that we send out are going live. That would help a huge deal. I think we're over 5,000 subscribers at this point, which is fantastic. Let's keep moving that along. And we'll see you on the other side of this short classroom sneak peek. Good. So I'm starting to think about my yard. And in the front yard, all right, I have 72 flowers. And they're to be planted in 4 crates, okay? So like they came in these smaller crates. I want them to be kind of distributed into these like larger crates. And that's just for the aesthetics, the appeal, the curb appeal. And I'm just curious for you friends to help me figure this out. I want to know how many flowers should I be planting in each box? All right, in each box. And when you're done that thinking, I've also got a backyard to worry about. Okay, I've got a backyard to worry about. And in the backyard, I'm going to be using 6 boxes. And I want them to look like the boxes that I'm using in the front yard. So the question I have for the backyard is like, how many flowers will I need to buy? Okay, and again, I'm going to clarify. I want to have the same number of flowers per box as in the front yard. So we've got 2 areas of the yard to worry about, okay? And they're like related, they're connected, but my problems are a little bit different, as I'm sure you would agree, okay? Here they are side by side, all right? I'm going to suggest that you kind of like take care of like the front yard first. All right, figure out how many flowers am I going to need in the 4 boxes to use all 72 flowers. Remember, those 72 flowers have to be used in the front yard in those 4 boxes. In the backyard, I already have 6 boxes and I haven't bought the flowers yet, but I want them to look like the same boxes, same number of flowers as in the front yard. All right, we're going to give you some time to do this. We're going to give you more time. I'm guessing, like I said, I read Mrs. Mind a lot. And I'm going to guess she's going to want to give you more time for this because what we really want you focusing on is no calculator. We want to know your thinking. You have to be convincing. And then if you're even brave enough, I want you to look at your results side by side. And I'm wondering, like, what do you notice and wonder about what's happening there? Okay, because we'll be talking about that as well. 10 minutes. What a brave soul you are. 10 minutes. All right, my friend. Remember, we are so interested in your thinking, less interested in the actual answer. I'm going to need the answer, though, because I do want to get started on making these purchases and getting ready for spring. But most importantly right now is your thinking. Give it a go and be as convincing as possible. A few friends who have shared in our chat, which is great. So we have some awesome strategies trying to think about. I'm really wondering about how they got that answer. That's something that's really important. And I wonder, Miss, if they haven't yet, I wonder if maybe we help them think about what model might be helpful here to organize our thinking. And maybe we'll just focus on this first in the front yard for now, because I don't know about you, if I'm just taking 72 and 4 and I just take them out of the problem and I just try to do stuff with it, might be a little bit more difficult. Like, one thing I will say is I see these 4 boxes and what I might do in real life. Like, if I was really planting these right now, I might literally just take 1 flower and put it in each box, right? And I go 1 flower and then I have 2 flowers in each. I could do that. And then at the end, I could count how many there were and figure that out. That's one strategy. It's a great go-to strategy. But I wonder if, like, we just wanted to know how many per box. Okay, so tell me more about that, because I have 72 flowers. And basically what it sounds like is we're dividing them. We're going to like partition these into 4 boxes. And you're saying that halving could be helpful here, but I don't understand what you mean by that. What do you mean by that? Interesting. So so what it sort of like suggests to you, you're like, okay, well, if I was to half my 72 flowers into 2 groups, what am I going to have to do to my number of boxes then if I want to think about that? Well, first of all, what is half of 72 flowers? Like, if I was to like chop them right down the middle, what would that be? Okay, awesome. So, okay. Oh, so basically you were like, you know what? Let's take half of the flowers and half of the boxes. Like, to me, that makes like good sense. So it's like you're still going to have to deal with the other 2 boxes and the other 36 flowers, but not right now. We're just going to... Awesome. So I see what you're saying. So it's almost like if I was to take these 4 boxes here, here's my 4 boxes. You're like, all of this is 72, but actually these 2 are 36 flowers and these 2 are 36 flowers, which is 72. All right. Super cool. So we knew all of this was 72. Like, all 4 boxes was 72. Then we halved it. Now you're halving 36. And you said, wait, that's 18. That means every box would require 18 flowers because we halved 36 flowers and we halved our boxes. Holy to Moses. And we have 18 flowers per box. So that's how many per box in the front yard. I'm looking at the time miss and I'm wondering, I wonder if with this strategy and now knowing it's 18 flowers per box, if maybe some people might want to use this information of 18 flowers per box in order to try to figure out how many flowers you're going to need to buy. And then maybe think about like what's happened here. Like what do we know? Like what do we notice? Is there any like behaviors that we might be able to use whenever we're in situations like these? And then that might be our jumping off point for the next lesson. I love that. And something as well, Miss, just to kind of, give everybody, like when I see a division symbol, like the division symbol looks an awful lot like the ratio symbol. So for me, I like to, when I see division, I start to think about like, how does it act in the real world? Like, is it like, what kind of ratio and what can I do with that ratio in order to help me? And then some of these other strategies sort of emerge. So if I think of these two groups over here and I go, okay, well, like, let's focus on this part of the yard. And I take my 36 flowers, I split that into two chunks, and I split my boxes into two chunks. Now I've got 18 flowers left to be divided amongst one box. Oh, wait a second. 18 flowers divided by one box. That's pretty easy, 18 flowers per box. And we see this equivalence going on. This equal sign right here is telling us like that this is equivalent. It's the same quantity as this. This right here is the same quantity as that. Like when I look at this strategy, I just think of how many times in my life I've done division and I had to like reach for a calculator because I didn't know how division behaved, like how it worked. And this strategy that you've shared really helps me to sort of go, I wonder if there's other scenarios where maybe I could have done something similar or use this strategy to help make my life a little easier, right? I love this. Okay, so you know what? Should we take a look at an example just to make sure people know what you're talking about? When we're all mathematicians, but when we think about people who like really, really consider themselves like mathematicians, like they want to find out information about how numbers and quantities work. Really what you're saying is like they come up with this idea, it's like a hypothesis, and then they say, well, I've got to test this hypothesis, like it might make sense in my mind, but let's see if it really makes sense. Okay, do you have like any thoughts? Maybe we'll keep flowers and boxes as the idea, like it's sort of like a different problem. Okay, and again, whether we want to call it a ratio, like 128 flowers to 16 boxes, like something I think that's really cool for us to think about too. If you've ever used ratio language before, this idea of like 128 flowers to 16 boxes, like it almost feels natural to also think of it as division, right? Because you're going, all right, I'm going to take these flowers and I'm going to actually divide them partitively across all these boxes, right? Okay, so let's see if your thinking works here. So you want to use this like this halving strategy. So yeah. So what if I did this too? If I just kind of start and I go, okay, I've got like 128 flowers. I'll just try to model this as we go and see if this helps too. Got it. So by halving, so if I, do you like which way I half here? Like, does it matter to you? No? Is it okay if I just go vertically? All right, let's do that. So I'm going to half vertically. So that's the same thing as me saying, okay, I'm going to half my 128. But you said it's like 128 is hard for you. So you thought, what if I half 120, right? So if I half that, what do you get there? What do you get there? 60. And having 28. Oh, sorry, 8, because you did 120, yep. And having 8, oh, that's easy. 4, so you're telling me that that'll be, so really this, when I half it, is the same thing as going, okay, I've got 2 chunks, and now it's 64 here, 64 here, but keep in mind, it's like there's 16 boxes. Like this idea you were sharing, Miss, with like these, you know, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to partition this, but just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to go, okay, it's like that's 4 boxes, right? If I go this way now, that's going to be 8 boxes, right? Whew, 8 boxes. And then if I go like half them all again, I'm going to get 16 boxes. So just to give you like a visual that like there's actually 16 boxes there, but we thought of it like one big box. Same thing's happening here. Now, interestingly enough, when I half this way, how many boxes was that? Like when I again go like this, how many boxes was that? Interesting. I have 8 boxes because there's 8 boxes here. There's 8 boxes here. So it's like when I halved my boxes, I ended up with, we saw 64 flowers. Oh no, my markers. You know what this means? This means that we've been doing a lot of remote learning and it has been awesome. So I'm just going to have to pick markers that are going to bleed through the paper. I just know this about these markers. It makes my heart sad, but it's okay. We're going to do it. And this one's 8 boxes. Okay. 8 boxes, 64 flowers. Now what? Now what? Awesome. Now, some people at home, like if you see and you're like, wait a second, I know what 64 flowers to 8 boxes is. That's awesome. Like your work is done, you know, but if you don't, right? Like Miss is saying like, I don't really feel comfortable here. This is where this strategy is so powerful. So what I'm hearing you say is like, you want to half this again. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to half that. That means we're going to be having our number of boxes. Okay, these are equivalent ratios and we're rocking and rolling here. Now over here, I'm going to get a little lazy and I'm going to just worry about my 64 flowers. And remember we had, you know, we had these like these 8 boxes like this. There's 4, there's 8, just like that. But now because you've halved it again, it's like I can physically go and I could say, no, we're going to half this thing. Whether you go this way or that way, totally up to you. Are you good with having 64, Miss? Half 60 and half of 4. So this is like 60 and 4. Half of 60 is 30 and half of 4 is 2. So 32, does that work for you? 32. So we have 32 flowers. 32 flowers here in how many boxes? Oh, I love it. Okay, 4 boxes. because having 8, you're feeling good about having 8, I'm guessing. So there's our 4 boxes, 32 flowers. 4 boxes, 32 flowers. Now keep in mind, remember I got lazy here, but just to make sure you're all with me here, like that means there's also more chunks of 32 here, like in reality, right? Like this is 128, then it was 64 and 64, then it was 32, 32, 32, 32. Holy smokes, like when I half and half again, I'm actually fourthing my whole, which is kind of cool. There's like lots going on here. How do you feel now, Miss? Like, is this a number you're good with, or? Yeah, just to kind of like, just to confirm that this strategy will work. So if we half this again, okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to move this up now. We have like this new situation. I feel pretty good about it. I'm going to bring this 32 right. We'll do it right here. Okay, so I'm only going to worry about one of these 32s. And we had 32 there. We had these like 4 boxes, but you're telling me we're going to partition this again. Like I can partition it this way or that way. And what is half of 32? Oh. Awesome. So basically you ended up with half of 30 is 15, half of 2 is 1, so this is 16 flowers. Holy smokes, 16 flowers right there in 2 boxes. Oh, I wrote it in a bad spot. Let's do it like this. 16 and 16, 16 boxes, 16 flowers in 2 boxes. And we've halved this again. I feel good about like everything so far. To me, it feels like it just makes sense. Like that's the part I really like about this strategy is like, I feel like there almost can't be anybody at home right now feeling like I don't get what's happening here. Like it feels like you can see this happening, and we can also see it happening to the numbers as well, which is really nice. I want to see emojis at home if you're following Mrs. strategy here. And give me some emojis as well. If we were to just for good measure, like can anyone see how many flowers per 1 box or how many flowers to 1 box? I see we've got some repeated hand raising going on. I love it. Miss, take us home. What do you think if we were to do it again? 8 flowers. Holy smokes, 8 flowers. Oh my gosh, every single one of these division sentences is equivalent to not only like it's like 8, but I wonder at home, I want you to think before we say it, 8 what? Like what does the 8 represent in every single one of these equivalent ratios and equivalent division sentences? That to me is kind of like this big idea that I'm realizing right now with all of you is like, wait a second. It's like I can kind of look at this in 2 lights, like in 2 ways. We were thinking of it like a ratio, but in reality, it's like they're all their own division sentence, which is kind of cool as well. So give us some emojis, friends. Like 8 what? Like what is it that's happening when we take this 16, this 16, which had, remember, it had 2 boxes, and we chop it in half, and we get 8. It's like, there's my 8, and there's another 8. And then we go back here when we realize, wait a second, it's like, look at all the 8s. That's essentially what we figured out, was like, all of these were always 8, but we didn't know they were always 8, right, Miss? Like if we were to fill in all these boxes, all of them were 8 the whole time. Wow. Miss, what is it then? 8 what? Is it 8 boxes? 8. I love it. And some people are like, that's a lot to write the whole time. And I agree. I might, I could say flowers per box. Like notice like when we do this with this compound unit, it's kind of indicating it's like, yeah, because that's kind of what we did. Like we divided our flowers by boxes, which is kind of interesting to reveal this rate. Some people might say, if you're really confident with short forming some of your units, but at the end of the day, they're all the same. And did I hear you call this something special? Like this quantity right here? I thought you did, but I just want to be sure. What do we call that thing? So dividing a composed unit ratio reveals a rate. And you also mentioned it's like, it's always, when we do this, it's always partitive division. And that is something really interesting to me. Now, something I want you to think about at home is like the point of us talking about this is not necessarily for you to like memorize this. It's for you to kind of think to the strategy. This all started with a strategy to help us solve the problem. And all we're doing now is we're kind of naming this behavior, and we're just kind of talking about this behavior because this is something like, this is the why that this works, you know, and that to me is really helpful and really important. And, you know, all right, math moment makers, you had an opportunity to see us engaging in the planting flowers unit. And we really tried to help students to see that actually when we're using a certain type of division called partitive division, there are two types that we talk about on some other videos if you go check those out. Partitive division can be thought of and actually is a ratio. It's a composed unit ratio where typically we're comparing two different quantities with two different units, and they can scale in tandem. And that's what you saw us doing here. We were leveraging some strategies. Of course, there's other ways students could have solved this problem by just straight up dividing, but in reality, what we wanted them to see was how flexible a composed unit ratio is in scaling in tandem. So we leverage something that students may know from their number talks in previous years, doubling and halving or tripling and thirding. This relationship can be really helpful for us in order to start uncovering the complexity of ratios, rates, and proportional reasoning. So I hope you found this helpful. Of course, you can check out the planting flowers ratios and rates problem-based unit over on our website, makemathmoments.com/tasks. We'll bring you to the menu of over 30 units that you can dive into. Also in the resources here, you're going to see that we have a link to the progression of division. So if partitive division, that language is new to you, don't panic. You can click that link and go check it out as well. But ultimately, at the end of the day here, what we're hoping that you see is that a couple things, that obviously ratios is a really important concept that we need to help more students access, but we don't want to look at it as a standalone idea, something brand new, because it really isn't. It is just an extension from what we already know with our work with multiplication and division. Something else that may or may not have popped out at you is how we were not using a calculator. We were using models, okay? In this particular case, we were looking at like area models or arrays to help us out. But of course, number lines can be really helpful also for students to really understand how these different mathematical operations behave. If students struggle with multiplicative thinking, giving them a calculator is not going to help them build that fluency and flexibility that you're after. Giving them models and helping them to emerge strategies that they can leverage, that is how we build true fluency, flexibility, and automaticity with some of those math facts. All right, one last request for you to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you know when these videos go live each and every week. And until next time, I will see you in our next video. Take care.